I'm remarrying her, so divorce me. I've been supporting our life until now, so you should be alright with $0 of alimony, right?
My husband keeps talking to me as if everything is as usual. I was so disgusted with him. Fine, in return. He accepted my suggestion without any hesitation. But he seems to not know that he's the one who loses. My name is Leah. I'm a 38-year-old housewife. My husband Sam and I have been married for 10 years. We first met at our workplace. We both knew each other as colleagues working for the same company. We were working on a project together, and as we worked more and more on the same team, we naturally got closer. We started going out for drinks, and then started dating. After about a year and a half of dating, he proposed to me, and we got married. He told me that once we were married, he wanted me to be a stay-at-home wife. I loved my job, but I also wanted to experience being a housewife, so I decided to leave my job for good. At the wedding, many people, including friends and people at work, congratulated me, and I was able to have a very happy ceremony. My newlywed life with my husband was very enjoyable, and I worked hard at housework every day to be a good wife. I bought cookbooks, cooked many dishes, and improved my skills. My husband seemed always to be happy and said how delicious my food tasted. And he worked very hard at his job. When we were both working, I was paid a little more than he was. But now he brings in the same amount of money as I did back then. So I decided to save money as a housewife. I looked up a lot of money-saving techniques on the internet and YouTube and referred to them. I got fixed costs as much as I could and kept food expenses at a reasonable level. Thanks to these efforts, I was able to save quite a lot of money every month. Well, my husband lightly lamented that he would like to have a little more pocket money. But I will let him off the hook for that, as it's a problem that every married businessman has to deal with. After that, I continued to work hard as a housewife, doing housework and saving money. I think a big part of the reason I was able to do so well was that my husband regularly praised me for my efforts.
Thank you for always working so hard to take care of the household. I can focus on my work with peace of mind.
He thanked me by saying that. When he said that to me, it made me happy and makes me want to work even harder. Even after a few years of marriage, I was still able to lead a peaceful and happy married life. Then, my husband suggested that we buy a house.
The room we are living in now is not so inconvenient, but it is a little bit too small for two people. I think it's time to move into a new house.
I agree with my husband. The reason we had been saving so much money was to make a big purchase like this. I had always wanted a home of my own too. We decided to buy a house, and we immediately went to a real estate agent. And we looked at a lot of different properties. Among them, we came across a property that seems intuitively good. My husband wanted to buy a house with a large room of his own. And if the house is close to a train station, he said he would let me decide. That house already met my husband's requirements, so we decided immediately. We paid the down payment from the savings I had saved, and we took out the loan and moved right in. The life in the new house was comfortable and fresh. My husband and I were very happy, and I felt the same excitement as when we were newlyweds. When we first moved in, we had a lot of fun. We invited each other's friends and had home parties. We enjoyed our life in the new house. Of course, I have continued to save money since then, and I'm saving for the future. The monthly mortgage was just a little more than the rent we had been paying at our former house, so not much has changed in terms of what I do to save. Our lifestyle hasn't changed, but we could live in a comfortable and big house, so how could we not be happy? and so we had a harmonious married life. But there was one problem, that we still didn't have a baby. Neither my husband nor I were in any particular hurry to have children. We just waited for things to happen naturally, thinking that children are a gift from heaven. However, as expected, after about 5 years of marriage, I started to get impatient with the fact that we couldn't have children. We tried infertility treatment and fertility control, but it didn't seem to be working. So my husband and I took some tests. We found out that my husband was having difficulty having children. His sperm count was low. We were a little shocked. He apologized to me and said he was sorry. But that doesn't make me hate him. I don't have any regrets because we couldn't do it after all we did. From now on, let's have a happy life together as a couple. When I said that, my husband nodded his head and said thank you with tears in his eyes. From then on, we decided to live together as a couple. And now we were celebrating our 10th anniversary without any trouble.
What should we do for our next wedding anniversary?
Well, we could take a trip, go to a fancy restaurant, could do something a little extravagant. Or we could take the plunge and go on an overseas trip. We were having a good time talking about our anniversary like that. As a result, we decided to stay at the luxury hotel in the US. However, about a month before our anniversary, my husband apologetically told me that he had to go on a business trip and that he couldn't go on our anniversary trip. I see, but if it's a business trip, what can we do? I was sad, but our anniversary was on a weekday, so I couldn't force him to take a day off. My husband was promoted to section manager 5 years ago, and he's still working very hard. I hear his subordinates rely on him, so I can't force him to neglect his work. Even if we couldn't go on the day of our anniversary, I was hoping to go on a trip shortly. However, the booked hotel was so popular that it was already booked for this month. We had no choice but to make a reservation for the next month. At that time, I had no idea that it would later turn out like that. Then one day a little while later, my husband came home unusually drunk. He was so drunk that he immediately collapsed on the couch. He was saying something, but it didn't sound like a word. Anyway, I prepared him a glass of water, but he had already fallen asleep. It was Friday, so he must have been drinking with his subordinates. At that moment, his phone lit up and a message appeared on the screen. I had no intention of looking at it, but I saw a heart emoji in the message, so I couldn't help but I stared at it. There was a woman's name Mary in the message. The message was only partially visible, but the first sentence is, "I had a great time today," followed by a heart sign. What does this mean? Is my husband having an affair? My husband's phone is locked with a PIN code, so I can't open the message. I was all at once in a state of bewilderment, but I wanted to believe in what we had built together over the years, so I couldn't question my husband directly. Well, maybe I was a coward. Instead, I decided to ask a credit agency to investigate. The result of the investigation came out just as my husband was on a business trip. It was also the day of our 10th wedding anniversary. I didn't expect to be alone on this celebrating day. I never thought that I would be looking at the documents of my husband's infidelity investigation result. And when I saw the documents, I was astonished. My husband was having an affair, but it had already been a year. My husband had never shown any signs of such an affair, but he was having an affair with a woman I didn't know behind my back. He had betrayed me. This fact weighed heavily on me and shocked me. I had promised my husband that even if we could not have children, I would stay with him. But it wasn't the same for him. The other woman was a young female employee, 10 years younger than me. In short, He laid his hands on his subordinate. I couldn't believe it. My anger at my husband rose, and my love for him faded out completely. My husband told me he was on a business trip. Maybe he was on a fair trip with his lover. Come to think of it, my husband had made the reservation at the hotel by himself. If my husband is having an affair on our 10th wedding anniversary, it would suck. But since I'm not sure whether it's true, so it's useless to think about it. For now, I decided to prepare for a divorce. First, I need to find a job. It's been 10 years since I quit my job, so it's not going to be easy to get hired. So I decided to look for a job as soon as possible and go for an interview. I decided to move back to my parents' house once I got divorced, so I looked for a job in a place that was easy to commute from my parents' house. I found a small accounting firm that was looking for a part-time position. I had a bookkeeping degree, so I decided to apply. I applied online and was contacted immediately and asked for an interview the very next day. I hurriedly prepared my resume and went for the interview. The president of the company who interviewed me had a good impression of me and hired me. I was thankful that I got the job because it lessened my mental burden so much. I then packed my bags and was ready to leave home right away. And then, my husband came home after his business trip. But my husband was not alone. I caught a glimpse of a woman behind him. I had a bad feeling about this, but I kept me cool for now and asked my husband, "Who is this woman?" And then my husband said this without hesitation.
She's my new wife.
Huh? When my husband said this, the woman firmly showed her face to me. Ah! Her face was the same as that of the woman in the photo evidence sent to me by the agency. I couldn't believe that my husband brought his lover home. Both of them have suitcases in their hands. This means that my husband was not on a business trip, but on an adulterous trip after all. The adulteress stared at me with a triumphant look on her face. And then, my husband made a startling statement.
She's pregnant with my child.
What?
I'm going to remarry her, and you're going to divorce me.
What? What are you talking about? I was surprised that his lover was pregnant with my husband's child, but they thought that I'm shocked because my husband wants to divorce me. It means Sam was meant to be with me, not you.
Mary and I love each other. I'm sorry you are going through this, but you need to leave.
I'm beyond angry. I'm appalled. So you're going to break up with me? I pretend to be shocked. But how could you afford to have an affair? With the allowance I was giving you, you couldn't have afforded that. Then, my husband made a surprising remark.
It's not like I was giving you my entire salary.
Huh? When I didn't understand what he meant, the adulterer grinned and opened her mouth. In your mind, Sam may be a section chief, but actually he became our department head last year. So he gave you his salary as a section chief, and he kept the rest for the dating expenses with me. Oh no. The more I dig the hole, the more I would find out about my husband's behavior. I was ashamed that I swore to spend the rest of my life with this man. Firstly, my husband was a little bit reserved about telling me all of this, but when he was sure that I didn't talk back or got angry, he became brazen.
Well, as it turned out, Mary is pregnant with my child. I have to take responsibility, so forgive me. I've been supporting our lives, so of course I'm willing to pay zero alimony to you. You've had it easy as a housewife too. My husband said this without a hint of apology. I was so disgusted with him. Fine. In return, can I have all the property divisions? The money we've saved during our marriage, the house, etc. When I said that, he just said yes. I don't think you could save that much with my salary as a section chief. And this house was not that expensive to begin with, so we can buy this much again soon.
My husband readily accepted my request, but he still doesn't know which one of us will lose more from this divorce. I took the divorce papers he brought and signed them. Okay, I will file it myself.
Okay. Thank good you're so understanding.
I'm glad you were able to get a divorce so easily. The adulterer said that and tangled herself in my husband's arms as if to show me. But I no longer felt any regret at the sight of such a thing, because I was certainly getting more out of the divorce than he was. My husband immediately packed up his belongings and left the house with the adulterer. After that, I filed for divorce and completed all the procedures for dividing the property and the name change of the house. I became a stranger to my husband. A month later, I received a phone call from my ex-husband out of the blue.
Hey, what are you doing?
What do you mean? You call me out of the blue and yell at me?
You're kidding me. You told my company about my affair? I got a barrage of criticism from upper management and my coworkers, and I was demoted from my current position and got transferred to a regional department.
Oops, but I didn't tell the company about it. The company you work for is also my former employer, and some of the employees are still good friends of mine. I'm sure it's because I talked to them about us.
Oh no, you're a bad judge of character. Just because your life is miserable, you don't need to make mine miserable too. And why aren't you at that house? When I visited you earlier, I was surprised to see a stranger there.
Yeah, because I sold the house.
Sold? Why would you waste like that?
You probably didn't know. I happened to have information that the land price in that area was going up. So I was able to sell it for a lot more than we paid for it.
Eh? Really?
And when you said earlier that my life would be miserable, you were wrong. I worked very hard to save money on the salary you were giving me. I was able to save close to 10 million even after we bought the house.
10 million?
That's why I want more than getting alimony and doing the usual division of property.
Oh no!
Everything happened because you were having an affair. Also, don't you remember that you have a body that makes it difficult to have children? Is your lover really pregnant with your child?
Oh.
My ex-husband seems to have forgotten about it because we found out about it so long ago.
Wait, Mary is meeting another man?
I don't know, but why don't you look into it? Anyway, I don't want you to get involved with me anymore. If you ever show up in front of me again, I will call the police. With that, I hung up the phone and blocked my ex-husband's number. Later, I heard from my ex-coworker. The baby Sam's lover is pregnant with was in fact not his child. Sam got angry that he was deceived and broke up with his lover. But he lost a lot. He can no longer get promoted at the work. And we could have used the savings I did for us together, but he ruined it himself. Now he's working in a local department where he doesn't know anyone. On the other hand, I'm living at home with my parents for the first time in a long time. I'm working hard at the accounting firm. I'm going to invest a large amount of money I've earned this time to further increase my assets. And I will study more and more about my job, and in the near future, I hope to be hired as a full-time employee. As for my love life, I will take my time and hope to meet the right person. For now, I'm going to focus on work and family time. Even though she knew her husband couldn't have a child, she decided to stay with him. So it sucks that he betrayed her. I think she deserved to get all of the savings, her house, everything. That's how much she supported her shitty husband. And from now on, her main focus should be on enriching her own life. I hope she will have a happy life.